gentlemen, to yet another episode of the Three Wise Guys podcast. I'm here with Dalapo. I'm here with Adam, our good dear friend Adam, who's on as a guest. And I'm not here with Luke. Luke is away. He is doing a marathon today. We'll check in on him in a second. But today, everyone, just give a warm round of applause. Welcome to Adam. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everybody. Adam. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You've been on the pod before. Yeah, it's good to see you.
Good to see you guys, too. A couple times, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it looked very different. Like now we have, well, obviously the biggest addition is Davin.
Hi, Davin.
That's right. We're here with Davin as well.
Sure.
We need to get a little mini camera for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just on my hands.
Like a dash cam or something like that. Like dash cam quality. Just kind of put it up there.
No, the setup is definitely changed a lot. Very professional.
It has. I did want to. We should. Okay, so during this episode, we're gonna check in with Luke here and there. Actually, let's see if he's available.
Yeah.
He did opt to say he would like to get on a phone with us during the pod. So we'll see.
Yeah.
He answered the phone kind of unsavory the last time we picked up. So I don't know if we're gonna. We're going to continue with that, but let's see if he can. I don't think he's expecting a FaceTime. That's the issue.
Yeah.
He might not pick up a FaceTime, but it's fine.
We'll see what
Running
he's
the marathon
doing.
holding his phone.
Do you know what marathon he's running? Like, it's not the Toronto Marathon, is it?
No, Davin, can you Google what it is? It is the Toronto Marathon, but it's not like the Toronto. Is it the Toronto Lakeshore or the Waterfront Marathon?
Is Davin like the Jamie from JRE podcast?
I'm the guy in the chair.
Yeah. It is the Toronto Waterfront Marathon, is it? No, it's not.
It's not.
No, what is this called? The
Ross, I feel like we've been busier today, no?
Oh, okay, we got him live. Yeah, we got him live.
We got him live.
How are you doing, sir? Okay, the shirt is off.
Hold on. Hi, Luke. Oh, there's Luke's sister.
Let me say hi to Luke.
Say hi.
Hi, Luke. Hi.
You're live on camera, by the way. And then we'll just show everybody. This is nobody can see you.
Yeah.
But give us a quick status update. How do you feel? How far are you? And how much time do you have left?
Do you feel better than all of us?
We're 31 kilometers in. How are you feeling?
Feeling awesome.
Esther's feeling awesome, apparently. Her voice is less convincing. Great. I'm honestly feeling perfectly fine.
Good.
Ooh,
I'm
okay.
chilling right now.
Nice.
Love those shades.
Yeah,
All
shades
good.
look great. Shades look great. All right. Well, I hope you're beating your personal best.
So he's at 31 kilometers. We'll check in and see what he's at after.
You see his laugh? He just scoffed at the first.
That was a hearty laugh.
We're already an hour over my personal best.
Okay, we'll check in on you in maybe like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely won't be done by then.
20. We'll do 20-minute check-ins. All right. Good luck.
Yeah.
All right. Say bye to everybody.
Bye-bye.
I love it. Yeah.
Cool. Beautiful. All right. So that's how Luke's doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Adam's here, and we want to talk to Adam. You haven't been on in a while. Obviously, for those of you who don't know, Adam and I grew up together. We've known each other for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And then we all actually went to uni together.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Did you meet Adam at uni, or did
I
you
feel
meet
like
him
I
after?
met D, but
think
I only
once.
heard of D. You know what I mean?
Possibly.
Up until after uni.
Yeah. I feel like I'm the first time I remember meeting you it was after first year.
Yeah.
But I do think we might have bumped into each other because I met Arya and Arya's crew first year. So it's where were you there when I met them? I don't know.
Yeah, I can't
But
remember.
I
I feel like in passing, I've obviously I heard of him and I felt like I knew him, but bro, I was never
Yeah.
I would be asleep and Arya would be coming back from 626
Yeah.
at 4 a.m. and I'm getting up going to practice or whatever, and I'm like, yo, Arya, what are you doing?
Trying to go to bed.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No.
No, that was a time. We somehow all know each other from uni, but no. You brought your guitar with you.
I did.
And you
I
brought
did.
your amplifier.
Yes.
And we're going to make you play it on
Okay.
camera.
Okay.
But
I mean, he came all the way here with it.
I did with other
he
with other
wanted to play
reasons.
it.
Yeah,
For,
wanted to
no,
play it.
for other reasons. I want to play for you guys. But
Always,
like I always
awesome.
want to play.
Yeah.
That's why I always have it. But yeah.
You recently took up guitar again.
Yeah. So I played for like probably like 3 years consistently when I was younger, but not like serious and not like with any music theory. And then I started picking it back up like consistently in December. Now I have a whole collection, partially due to you guys, because I mean everybody else paid for the Jackson, and then you paid for the guitar that I have here today. So
This is a special guitar.
yeah,
Special
so everybody
guitar.
played a part in me getting back into music for sure, for sure.
So, like, you're doing this for yourself or to pick up women?
Important questions.
No, honestly, I'm actually doing it for myself to like maybe eventually do like some shows and everything. Like a couple of my coworkers, luckily enough, they have like one of my coworkers has a winery across the street from actually my tattoo artist out in Lincoln, like by Niagara. And then I have a couple of friends
That's
that
the
have like
escarpment, no?
yeah.
That was
And
where we
That's
were.
where we were.
yeah. And then I have like a few friends that have like different like venues or different events that eventually I'll want to play. So more so for leisure and also just to like feel like I've accomplished something. You know what I mean? Like going home and actually having a purpose, something to look forward to after work. But also I just love music, and I feel like we all do. Like everybody in our group was either making music or was a part of music, or we all kind of vibe to the same music, like the concert, the Dave concert that we've already spoken about. I think that was the last pod.
We had a whole like pod episode on the Dave concert for those who don't know.
And
Actually, check it out.
just an update.
We'll plug the episode.
Just an update. I'm pretty sure in that episode I said I might have broke my back. I actually did,
Oh.
but it was
Did
like
you actually?
yeah.
Like
It was
when you fell off the
fence. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Jeez.
I have a still frame picture of looking at Luke's hand just cut up, and I'm like, well, I might as well just fall off the fence instead of jump down. So
I still have that shirt that was just drenched in like vomit and blood.
Really?
Yeah,
That was
it
a
was
mess.
Luke's blood and Adam's vomit.
What a shirt.
we should frame that shirt.
We should actually share that
Put it
shirt.
in
It's
resin or
upstairs
something.
right now. Actually, it's clean and everything.
Yeah. But yeah, no, music was big in my family too.
Oh, yeah?
I got lucky where I worked. A lot of my coworkers in the shop, I work at an auto shop, they're in a band actually. So they all kind of listen to the same style of music, and were the ones that encouraged me to start playing again. And then just like everything else in life, we become consumers when we like something. So like shoes, collect a bunch of shoes. Now I'm at a point where financially it's not the smartest, but I want to like collect as many guitars as possible. So yeah,
Okay.
it's just more so just to have something that is comforting, but also something that like is always a challenge and like you'll never technically master, so just
So not at all for women in any sense of the like in any sense of it at all.
I
Just
feel
to
like-
confirm here.
I feel like the more you insinuate it, the more you're kind of like indicating it's like attractive.
Jeez.
So
That's
now
very
I have
true.
to question like,
I guess the question is,
do you like
have
when
you
I play
played
guitar?
it for any woman yet?
Like apart from family?
Yeah.
Yeah, like friends that also play music. But like
Okay.
the ones where it's like you're not like you're like a semi-pro, so like you're not gonna play yet.
Oh, okay. Fair.
No, only for friends.
So there's campfire singers, and then there's actual musicians.
I'm like
Arya's asking if he's the campfire singer.
I wouldn't say I'm a musician, but I definitely want to go to a campfire. I'm more of like I'll lock myself in the room and I'll play music to myself sort of guy.
Actually, we all got a little sample of it when we were at Adam's birthday.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
He played a little bit for us.
He
but
did. I remember.
You've gone a lot better since then.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I've heard a little bit. So
Yeah.
if you want, you're more than welcome to give us a little sample.
Yeah, I could play something.
Yeah, you think it's time? Yeah,
something if you want.
Davin will bring it over for
Yeah.
you.
I think I just need to move this microphone.
Yeah,
you,
Davin
Davin.
will get out of the way too.
Okay, so I was told it's filming. There's a camera right there.
Thank you, Davin.
Thank you.
bought me. So in terms of like,
Oh,
who are your
jeez.
friends and what do they do for you? Like, just know this guy's solid. So, like, I don't know music theory, like, the top of my head. I don't know a lot.
Maybe you could all, before you play, like, whatever you're about to play, like, explain it to everybody and let us know why you decided to play this.
Thanks, man. Okay, so I know it's kind of a meme, especially because given the fact that we all listen to like very like different music in our day to day, like we all listen to the same but we listen to different compared to what I play on guitar.
Yeah.
A lot of this is kind of what I grew up off of. And I live with my grandma who's in her 90s, has dementia, and she listens to like Louis Armstrong, she listens to Stevie Ray Vaughan, Chubby Checkers, Dean Martin, things like that. So I grew up off of that. And a lot of sampled beats from a lot of the music that we listen to. Now that I've like had the privilege to kind of have a better ear for music, I've definitely heard a lot of similar patterns. So Stevie Ray Vaughan is what I'm trying to learn how to play. Now, do I play like him? Not at all. But I think it's probably like my go-to song when I pick up a guitar. It's called Lenny, and it's just like a 5-minute song of guitar only. And I've only mastered maybe like 2 minutes, and then I've had to make a variation of my own. But it's definitely one of my favorite songs.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, let's see if we drop our pants.
No. Will I play it perfectly?
Aria will.
I have no idea, but we'll see.
Davin's going to be sure to cut the camera to me when I do, too.
When you drop your pants?
Yeah.
I'll stop playing.
I'll faint like you're Michael Jackson.
Yeah, okay.
Let's fucking go.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
he
that was
played
pretty
that
good.
when we were at his birthday too, like a small portion of it, but it's gotten so much better.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
I thought that
appreciate
was
it.
really good.
I listen to like a lot of like old rock as well, but I feel like that would probably be like the most I guess in a sense the best word would be universal for people, because I know that like rock music or certain types of music that like I listen to just to appreciate the actual music behind it. It's not something that is for everybody. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
what's been the most significant, I guess, impact that bringing guitar back into your world has done for you?
people. Like honestly, like I know it sounds corny. Like yes, partially as a young man, single, growing up in Mississauga. Yes. Do you play music for women? What do we do? What do we work and make money for? You know what I mean? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like just
Have
for
money
ourselves.
for
Okay, that's
women.
fine. But you know, everybody has their own path that they want to choose. For me, as cheesy as it sounds, I love playing music, and like for you, like hearing you be like, oh, you made progress. It's like, oh, that's sick. Right?
Yeah.
Like I like that, and it's like reassuring for myself, but I also like making people like enjoy music or taking them into like a moment in time, so to speak. Like for example, my grandma being in her 90s, she's getting older, and when my mom comes down, my mom was a big influence in music when I was younger. So to see my grandma kind of nearing the end of, you know, her time, just given health conditions, when I was playing guitar and my mom sat and watched, like watching her cry, like it really like touched my heart in the sense of like, man, like I know that music means to everybody, they have their own reasons why music comforts them or it brings them into a certain place. So for me, music these days kind of brings me into a place of like, kind of, I guess, speaking to people without having to use my words. And seeing how other people, whether they're close to me or they're not, react to it. It's kind of cool to get that insight on somebody. So
I think it's definitely like, music is like a universal language,
100%,
kind of in a way, right?
Yeah.
You know, people appreciate music.
It is a language.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to have
so
lyrics
hard
to it. You know, and
Yeah.
you're just talking about pure music.
Yeah.
And it transcends every language barrier
100%.
that has ever existed, and you're either you can pull a feeling from it.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a consistent feeling generally.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
whoever listens to it, no matter what language you speak.
And I definitely agree with that. And on top of that, like you said, because of no matter what language you speak, everybody has so many different things that they respond to. And I feel like being that it's a universal language, because languages in general have their own structure, they're so hard. There's so many ways to like basically make music, looking at it like a language. There's so many ways to make music that it's almost impossible to ever say like I know music inside and out, because it's forever adapting and changing. So to be a part of it, it's pretty cool, especially because like, bro, you know me, like I don't even go on my cell phone, so I don't know how to like mix tracks. I'll just like, I know how to make this sound good, but like that's all I got, so I'm happy with
He
that.
goes on his phone, he just doesn't answer my text.
I go on my phone to play that game where you have to like draw a line, like draw a shape, but you can't disconnect the line or cross over.
Like Candy Crush.
At Candy Crush.
This guy's addicted to Candy Crush.
Nah, not so much anymore. Not so much. Yeah, they have too many ads.
No, that's I did want to touch on like how you just mentioned like music brings people together, and like I feel like that's so powerful. Like you know, there's like one of the many things that brings like a lot of people into one place is like, you know, like concerts, listening to music. I mean, that's something we talk about. And then like, you know, like anywhere that plays live music is automatically just a better experience.
Yeah, it's
like,
so much better.
You know, it's so much better. And like we talk, even fans of good music, like, you know, like talking about like, I know when you were introducing it, you're saying your coworkers, you guys all have like similar taste in music as well, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, just appreciation of music brings so many people together. And, you know, it's great to just think and remember that music is like, you know, something that's always like, that's like a positive force, like in general.
100%.
And I'm glad, like, you know, you're seeing that.
You met your girlfriend at a concert.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and that's like a thing we do. We're like, we just go for concerts like as many as we can. Like,
and
we just buy each other tickets to do that. So.
I feel happy that like I love to cook. Like we all love to cook, right?
Yeah.
And like Luke, especially, shout out Luke. He's a great like chef and great cook. I worked in a restaurant for like 7 years, and I still love to cook. But when it became a job, the association was different, because then it was me making somebody else's dishes, and I didn't have like the creative like freedom. Whereas like for me, now that I don't look at music at all like a job, because no way can I say I'm a professional, it's more so like it's nice to feel like a student again. And it's nice to feel like humbled when like, man, like I played that, and like to me I played like crap, but like to somebody that just do, okay, yeah, it does sound nice. But to know there's so many things to fine tune and actually feel like I want to do it is what keeps me going when there aren't those moments of being able to share it with people.
Yeah, I think like, I'm glad you mentioned the thing about job, because one question I get a lot, and I'm like, you and Luke have asked me this before, but it's like, why, for example, with like photography, you know, it's like, why don't I try and make money off of it or things like that? And I've always been hesitant, but it's kind of a same thing where it's like, once it becomes a job, I feel like there's a certain baseline level of stress that's added to it, and then it might feel different, you know, like how you just described
like even like
working into it,
anything, like
I'm just afraid of that. Not that it's for sure gonna happen, but it's just something that I'm afraid of.
100%. I totally understand that. And like, I feel that in like a similar sense of like when I worked on cars before I was working on cars, I was like, oh, this is awesome. Right. And then it was my job, and instantly I left my apprenticeship, because I'm like, why do I want to do this and then make this how I make money when this is what makes me happy?
Yeah, you just want to enjoy it as opposed to like, you know, turning it into a thing. I think it was Luke and I that were having this conversation. Look at us just talking about him, eh? But
we're about to be calling him again in like 15 minutes.
Daddy Luke.
Jeez.
I love you, Luke.
But he was just talking about cooking And like, you know, there was a period where he was an influencer and he actually even got like, you know, sponsorship. And like, we're talking about that because I saw some of his videos on my YouTube. Again, like some of his cooking, and he was like, "Yeah, I had some in the vault, and I re-uploaded it." And I was like, "Oh, like, you know, we're just kind of talking about that." And he was just mentioning kind of a little bit of what you were saying, where he just enjoys cooking.
Yeah.
But then when it was like, okay, yeah, like with my cooking, I have to try and break into this influencer game.
Yeah.
Then it kind of like changes the dynamic of your relationship with cooking.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And
Exactly.
like, you know, and it's he's like, I can't be an artist anymore, is what he says.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like
no, but it's
you have
true.
to go commercial with it, and so like that'll change your relationship
100%.
with that habit. You might not get as much joy. In fact, it might be high stressor.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like higher than like any other job.
Now you're trying to cater to whoever's actually watching, right?
You get what I mean? So like, you know, it's like just additional load there. So yeah, I think it's important to be able to differentiate what you want to just keep like an art and like something that you love versus, okay, yeah, I love this, but like I'd also like to like use this to make money and deal with this like on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah.
Like I would never say that like I absolutely hate my job, but I'm not working a job where like as a kid this is what I did for fun, right?
Yeah.
Because as soon as it goes for money, especially in like such like a fast changing world, again, like, man, I sound like an old man, but like you guys know me. I am an old man. I am an old man. Like I don't work like a corporate job. I work in an automotive shop. None of our cars are electric. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, okay, we have one electric car and Mazda's never sold it. Like our dealership sold one in the year that I've been there, and that was their only one. But like,
speaking of like all the masses that are electric, I'm like, actually,
yeah, exactly.
there's like really, there's like
exactly. But no, like for me, I don't know. I feel like I keep what I like separate, and usually the things that I like separate, like guitar, basketball, sports, all these things are evolving. And don't get me wrong, I love the times that we're in the era and to see like everybody's like passion come out. But like even me, I love playing guitar. I want to make a YouTube channel, but like I'm not gonna get a camera and start like filming and editing because then there comes a completely different side and a fully different job that's entailed, right?
Yep.
Especially when it comes to like what I see for like influencing or this or that. There's a lot of things to kind of account for that I see you guys do even with this podcast, which I can appreciate. But like, I know that that's not my strong suit. And even if it's something that somebody could say like, oh, well, you could work on that and then do this or that. Same with photography. It's like, well, yeah, I could, or I could just keep it to what I know makes me happy right now. And because I'm not in a position where I need to take that step and say, this is all I have, I'm not going to do that, so to speak, right away, at least.
I think this is sorry, were you going to say something, Devin?
Yeah, I think you touched a great point on also like how you eventually have to cater for somebody. And I'm just trying to wrap my mind around like, is it inevitable that the fact that you will get to a point where like, man, like this is a job now, you know? And like you say, might as well like right now just enjoy what I'm doing with it.
Yeah.
And really fall in love with it. And then eventually if it does kind of like dim down, then there'll probably be your point in life where you find something else.
Yeah.
You kind of progress in that.
Yeah.
And you love that.
No, that's honestly, and like one of the only questions I asked you prior to this podcast was if you did this for work too, right? So it's like to hear you say, well, I usually do photography, but I'm starting to learn this. That's kind of in a similar sense for what it is, like just by its like skeletal meaning is like, you know, yeah, I played guitar and then all of a sudden I took the step to buy this equipment and do this and then do research on this. So yeah, maybe eventually it will. But unlike you, where I don't feel like I don't get the sense where you got ahead of yourself because you did photography and then you segued into this kind of stuff. For me, the reason why I say right now I don't want it to be a job is because I'm doing the work in order to like be a student and learn before I commit to anything, because I always have the habit, as Aria knows, of jumping the gun into anything that I'm passionate about. And I feel like this is the first time where like seeing somebody like you or like even you guys doing this podcast as something separate from what you guys do in your day to day and not investing everything into it. I think my biggest flaw is once I start to love something, that's all I do. Guitar's been the one thing where like it's a balance because music is everywhere. So music is every day, but guitar in itself is like a 2-3 hour window for me. of like playing and then a 2-hour window of learning. So yeah, I feel like pieces of the puzzle fall in place when the time is right. And for me right now, even to have the opportunity to like sit and jam with like my coworkers that are in a band and get things from them, it teaches me the things that I need on a day-to-day that eventually will become second nature, so that who knows, like maybe it'll become something that I want to do, like being business oriented. But at the same time, there's so many other things that I want to approach.
And I want to answer your thing too, Davin. I think it, in most cases, is absolutely inevitable that it ends up being for somebody else. I think even if you, for like this, because this conversation is now like, this is an artist conversation, right? It's like the artist dilemma, right? You make your art for yourself. It's subjective. Everyone always tells you art is completely subjective, and that's how you're gonna get noticed, right? Because you continue to create subjective art because you have no choice but to make it for yourself. There's nobody paying attention to you, so you have to make it for yourself. But now you gained a little bit of attention. People are paying attention to you, whether you like it or not, right? Yeah. And also, whether you like it or not, they're not always gonna pay attention to you and enjoy everything that you make. So if you kind of want to stay relevant, now you're faced with this dilemma of, okay, I might have to cater something to this, or do I just continue to do what I'm doing and I hope one day that I blow up again or whatever it is. I think a lot of artists who paint and do canvas art and things like that, they run into this issue, right? Because for their whole lives, they'll make art and they sell it, gets whatever, and then one day somebody comes and asks them to commission something.
You're absolutely right.
And they this commission, they may not be inspired to do. It's not that they agree to like on the topic of it, or agree with this person or disagree with this person.
And a commission is what every artist kind of like dreams of too, right? You want to get like appreciated, like
But it's for what you're creating in that moment.
Yeah.
Because when you have that like epiphany of like, oh my God, like I really love doing this and I want to be appreciated for this. Are you really gonna have that same association when it's like, oh my God, I'm following what my like crowd of followers want me to do, but it's not actually what I want to do.
I think it pulls you away from your original motivation. No, well, I would say that what drives you to do the art in the first place, right? Is nobody else, it's yourself, right?
Yeah.
So it comes and goes. Your motivation wanes in and out depending on what you see and how you feel.
That's a great point.
Now when you introduce a commission, the idea is you can generate art. Like that's the idea.
You have to fulfill whatever it is. Yeah.
Right. I can generate a piece of art that is in line with what this person has created in the past. Yeah. Whereas the issue is this person has never created something in the past in line with that. And the second you do it, that now changes your intent moving forward, right?
Right.
So it's a huge dilemma for artists. And that's why I say, like, to your question, Davin, I think it's almost always inevitable to get there. It's who you are as a person, whether or not you can handle that or not.
But it's also finding your path too. You know what I mean?
Well, the second you do it, that changes how you approach art moving forward from that point, right? And you kind of have to either get on board or not, and otherwise you stay struggling with yourself, and you're going to be fighting it for a long time.
I totally agree, and I just wanted to add there, if you're good enough. Right.
Of course.
Yeah.
So like you do have to meet like a minimum threshold of someone's gonna pay you for this, for you to have that. But like I think that every artist wants that. So like the goal is to work to get there. And but then once you get there, then I think everything Arya says is like valid. Now you're in this threshold of like I'm good, people are paying me, like like it's going to happen, like what I mean, like so, and you're unconsciously working toward that as well, you know what I mean, because that is what the goal is. So it is interesting, like I can see what you said, but go.
In terms of art too, like going from photography to filming to production and this like that, thank you. Like most of like the actual art pieces of tattoo I have on me, like tattoos, is what I drew myself because I want to become a tattoo artist. Oh, right. But then
I didn't even know this.
Yeah, but then as soon as
first of all, sick tat.
Thank you, I appreciate it. But then as soon as I thought about the concept of, oh shit, I have to tattoo people and it's permanent on them, it's different. Like I just stopped and I'm like, I don't even draw anymore. Like it took it away from like everything. And I used to do it all the time. Like I would sit and like draw all the time. How many times in elementary school was I just sitting and drawing in every class? But for music especially, or something like a podcast, there's so many different avenues you can take and so many things that you can pull from it, that like the way I see it now, and the reason why I'm in no rush, is that if I'm not looking at it as, oh, well, I'm going to be like, people are going to see my face and I'm going to be like the face of my music, rather than like, oh, well, like if I was to sample stuff and sell it to Ope, like shout out Black Chains, right? And then this beat goes like viral or whatever, but my music is in it. Those are the things where like, yeah, I could see that happening in the future eventually, but there's like a niche part for me that I feel comfortable with if I was to ever get into the profession of guitar, but there's a lot more for me to learn before I ever do that, versus like production and things like that, or being a face of a podcast. Like that's a lot. Like I don't even want to be like an influencer. I don't want to like blow up and do this or that. I want to progressively have like a steady line, but eventually, as much as we want things, like you got to create it for yourself, right? So only time will tell with music, but music is definitely the reason why I think even our relationships are stronger. You know what I mean? Because think about how many times we'd sit and listen to Rum and Red Bull in your house, right? Like all the time. That was the
anthem of our childhood.
I'm drinking, right? But like, bro, like all of us.
This is why we're so fucked up.
Yeah, literally.
There's a couple of kids in Mississauga.
Yeah, we were so stupid. Listen to Rum and Red Bull, eating a whole pack of sour Skittles on Facebook. Oh my god,
that sounds hilarious.
Music brings it definitely like shapes relationships. Not even in the sense of like what you listen to, but you think about it, you come on this podcast, we come to your birthday. You know, like you bring you share your music with us, right? Which is a huge thing. It's a vulnerable thing to do.
Yeah,
right. And when you do that, you know, you let people see into you a little bit, and they respond to that warmly.
And the trick is, I don't even have to speak, because like you know, I like that, because I'd rather just like play something rather than like say something half the time. Yeah, I don't know. Music is just, it's awesome, man. Like it's everywhere that you go. Like that meme of like, oh my god, somebody just moved a chair and that screech on the floor was in the key of E minor. Like there's times where like I'm like picking up on it, I'm like, oh god, this is like,
that reminds me of Ola, because like Ola will be like, hear screech and he'll record it and then make a beat.
You know, I saw Ola last weekend in London. Yeah, when I was at Ope's for his birthday.
Jeez,
yeah,
sweet.
Yeah.
So you mentioned like music is something you used to connect with your grandma.
Yeah.
And you know, like I know what's going on with your grandma and everything like that, but you know, in general too, like you and I have lost people in the past, you know, few years and everything like that. And I know that's something that's been on your mind recently, but you know, how's music helped you with dealing with loss?
Music's definitely helped me dealing with loss. Just in terms of, there's certain songs, Marvin's Room, that we'll go to when, you know, that grade 8 girlfriend broke up with you and Arya's walking around with his Bose soundproof headphones and like, bro, don't talk to me. Nothing Was the Same just came out.
Actually, did have Bose sound, but it was
the beats.
No, it wasn't. It was Bose, but it was the in-ear, like fully wired.
Yeah, and Jake's just singing to him about some shit.
Most comfortable earbuds I've ever gone in my life. Shout out to the Bose. It was definitely the quiet comforts, but it was like one of the first generations of quiet
I need a recommendation on new earphones, by the way.
Great. They were phenomenal.
Getting back to your question,
sorry.
It's definitely helped in the sense of like touching on like loss, like losing Cujo, like my dog, at the beginning of this year was like, it was tough in the beginning. And then that song by Don Toliver, Moon, right? That little guitar riff right there, when I play it now, it's like, it's comforting for me. It's no longer sad. And for my grandma, like when I play like all this old music, I actually like naturally feel myself playing, like I'm into it and like I'm in tune with it, because it's like, to me, it's speaking to me of like, I know my grandma likes this kind of stuff. And it's definitely reframed my perspective on living with somebody who's kind of on their last leg and who's like, as much as they are not really mentally present due to their like conditions, they're fully aware that they're on their last leg. So when we're around each other, especially, like I wish you guys could see it. Like my mom and my aunt are with her all the time, right? But then as soon as I walk in the room, my grandma smiles, she's present. She's like, "Oh, you have your guitar? And then like my sister will bring her my niece up, like her daughter, and it's just like it's very much a like a come together sort of moment, was what music is for me. And it's definitely helped me through a lot, like a lot. Like listening to like old music, old rap from like grade 8 when we like lost like Ray Ray, right? Like it's like, you know, it's hard to go through grief and like whatever those moments are in your life, and those struggles, those are your personal struggles, and nobody can ever define what grief is, because it's different for everybody, or how you kind of work through things, right? But in terms of loss, you know, there's loss every day, and there's also new life every day too. So just to kind of like embody what that person meant to you, whoever you lost, and put it towards something, it's really rewarding to put it towards music, because like we said earlier, there's so many different variations of music that, like when I think of Rashawn, like I'm going to play something that was sampled on like an old French Montana or like Speaker Knockers, you know what I mean? And like,
you play some Playboy Cardi,
you know
for
what I
Ray
mean?
Ray.
Right? But then when I think of my grandma, I'm going to play something soft. When I
Right.
think of my mom, I think of certain songs. When I think of like you, I think of certain songs. So it's like, music has helped me just in terms of the association of what style of music means what to me and who influenced that. And it's definitely helped me get through the process of dealing with grief or dealing with loss, for sure.
I want to keep talking about loss here because I think it's important, and you know, we're just saying this because you know we know probably people watching, you know, everyone goes through loss, and I know both of you guys have your own experiences with loss, like in big ways, people that were near and dear to you. So talk about it if you want, don't talk about it if you don't want.
You go
like,
first,
no
Dave.
problem. But you know, like I'm genuinely, you know, curious for everybody else, but you know, what kind of impact has loss had on your life, or your perception of loss, you know, and accepting it? You know, how has that kind of changed the way you look at life?
Yeah, interesting. It does change. I think that's probably the most important thing.
It's a tough
That
question.
it does change the way you look at life, and like, how does it change it? I don't know. That's probably a person to person experience, but
Give an example.
okay.
You don't have to get through an example if you don't want to.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
okay. But like everyone goes through it. It's just
Yeah, you
more
know,
so the
but you don't
principle,
have
you know?
Yeah, no, it's okay. Like, I feel like, I was just gonna kind of like talk through it, and like naturally my experience would bleed through, like, you know, how I'm framing it, I guess. But yeah, like, I feel like when you go through loss, you feel feelings you've never, like, you know, felt before. Like, you get, I mean, feelings you never knew existed. I always joke, like, you know, when you like do drugs or people drink, like the whole point is to feel something different, and the first time you do it is the first time you feel that.
Yeah.
And then
you chase it.
yeah, and then you kind of chase it like a little bit, but loss is one of those feelings you don't chase.
Yeah.
The main difference between drugs and loss. Same
Great
thing.
comparison.
Same
Same
but
thing.
different. Same
You will
but
lose if you
different.
do drugs.
No, well, just
That's the soundbite, Davin. That's the soundbite for this episode.
Why die when you can just do drugs?
Okay, no, D's getting through
kidding.
something.
yeah, no, just saying, like, you're in a completely different mode, like completely different zone, and like in that sense, like it's different, and that's like a way of thinking and a way of feeling that you've unlocked, and like you'll always have with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's after going through that grief that changes you.
That it changes
Yeah.
you. Like, yeah, like at that point, like that's like, you know, a new like module in your brain you can access.
Yeah.
And I feel like it affects the way you make decisions. So like I would say, like, for example, for me, like I just knew, like, you know, how will I say it? Like my expectations were it just got lowered, like as a person. Like I was like, anything can happen to anybody, and like, you know, like for no reason, and you can't, you know, like there's nothing you can do. Like it's just life happens. Right. And you know, like, you know, it's something people say, but like until something, like when you experience loss or something really, really serious, like, you know, a lot of those feelings don't materialize, and you don't gain an understanding or an empathy toward them.
You're right.
I'm glad you mentioned it. So, follow-up question, maybe, yeah, whoever wants to answer, right? But how has loss impacted your view on agency? You know, like self-agency, you know, autonomy, you know, there's things that are out of your hand, right?
Yeah.
So to what extent do you still hold, you know, near and dear that control? And to what extent have you kind of let go based off of loss? Because I know
that's
loss
really
plays a
good
huge
question.
role on agency, like towards yourself and others.
Yeah. For me personally, absolutely, it's played a big role, and I'd love to hear Adam's. I feel like for me, it just made me know, like in as much as I can't control anything else, the only thing I can control is what I do. Like, so in that sense, it's made that like
More reassuring?
like just like super crystal clear for me. Like, you know, in the sense, like, you can only hope for everything else.
Yeah.
Like, you know, everything else is really just a hope.
That's
like
a great.
You know what I mean? Like, the only thing that you really can do and do know is what you're gonna do. But like in the sense where, like, I guess the other way to frame it is you can't control anything. Like, you know, except your own actions, kind of thing. Like,
Your own actions and reactions.
yeah, and reactions, right? So it's like it just kind of like the letting go of, like, you know, anything's anything. You just gotta. I'm a very much like, you just gotta prepare for the worst case scenario, and then depending on how clear that scenario is, like, you know, maybe you do some prevention. But for the most part, like, you know, you just always got to make sure, like, you're good and, like, you know, you're emotionally like, you know, situated and comfortable enough. Like, then your, like, emotional well-being becomes, like, at least for me, a factor now. It's like, I know I got to be okay. Like, you know, to be able to deal with whatever life throws at me, because like, hey man, it jilts you. Do you get what I mean? And that's one of those things when you say it affects people a different way. Like, you know, sometimes it's not always for the best. Like, you know, it jilts them emotionally and they're never able to snap back. Right. And that's a reality I've seen with people close to me as well, too. Right. Where they went through loss, intense loss, multiple loss of family members, and it just jilts them emotionally. You know what I mean? So
I think the trigger is always reflection. You know what I mean? You're always forced to reflect. Yeah. What you reflect on differs from person to person. I know for me, at least, it like loss has made me like completely reevaluate my beliefs and my values and my principles. You know what I mean? The way I treat people around me. You know, you, like you said, you know, you never know what's gonna happen. You know, I've gone through like full moments where I have to kind of reevaluate how my relationship with my parents now. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because of that, because I'm like, you don't know how much time you have, right? And it's like, how do you want to spend your days? Yeah. You know what I mean? How do you want to spend your days? How do you want this conversation with this person to go? Like, if I don't speak to this person for a week, what could happen in this week? You know what I mean? And now I think about how I leave conversations. And that's, like you said, that's what I think you end up ultimately having agency over is, you know, the feeling that you leave a person with during your last conversation. Yeah.
Grief is
we don't have to touch on grief too much though, because we've done a whole episode on grief.
No, we have. Like, I was just saying loss leads to that. But curious your experience.
For me, those are all really good points. Like getting more like just into detail, because obviously I really don't mind. I think the best thing I ever heard, well, first of all, the best thing I ever did, after I really realized that like I was still struggling with Ray and I was still struggling with like my cousin, and now my aunt's coming up, right? It's like loss is inevitable, taxes are inevitable, and mood changes are inevitable too. But the one thing you have control of is controlling yourself, your emotions, your reactions, your perception, and your understanding or not more so understanding, but the way you kind of interpret what loss is. Are you going to interpret it as like the world is falling? Or are you going to interpret it as, I'm not ready for this. I wasn't ready. Oh my God. Now that I know I'm not ready, I'm saying this because I know there's so many other things to come and it's inevitable, right? So preparing for something that is unavoidable is a little, not nerve-wracking, but it's a little tough. I was lucky enough to find like a really good therapist, and the best thing he ever said to me, to touch on what you said about your parents, because I also have divorced parents myself. Like I know all of us, like our relationship with our parents, we don't really always talk about it, but it's the reason why is because it's very tough to unpack. I love my parents, but it was a very different childhood as it is for all of us. The best thing I ever heard, and this goes across the board for not just family but friends too, is God forbid you only have 20 years left with this person, right? Let's do the math. If I see you 5 times out of the year, or if I see you once a month, so 12 times a year, 12 times 20 is what? 240? Something like that. No, I'm like 2000.
Davin, calculator.
Math. I don't know.
You said 12 times 20?
Yeah, no, I lied to you. Yeah, no, 240.
Yeah, that is 240, yeah.
So
240.
that means I'm going to see 240 more times in the next 20 years. So
Yeah.
12 times per year. If of those 12 times, 6 of them is us arguing, 3 of them is us doing whatever with people, and then 3 of them is deep connection. 3 times 20 is 60. That means you have 60 more visits with whoever this person is in the next 20 years that actually count. So it's like, what are you going to do to make the most of it?
Yeah.
And there's a balance of that too, because there is a point, like, you know me, I hate being a passenger in a car because of car accidents. But when I say bye to people sometimes, I'm like only thinking like hyperactively, like, oh my God, what if they die in this car accident? You know what I mean? But it's like, what car accident? Like it plays a role of like being scared sometimes, but also checking yourself. And like, I guess the best thing, like one of my coworkers, she lost her son to drugs, right? At the same time that I had lost my dog. And to hear somebody who lost somebody technically closer to them in a sense, it means more in a sense, or is more connected to them. She sent me this thing and she's like, there's a whole world of grief that no one can understand until they walk through it. Once you walk through it, you'll never be the same. You'll hurt as you never have. You'll break as you never have. But the best part at the end of it was you will savor life as you never have. And the way I savor life now is in a sense of like, loss will always hurt. People always have an association to you. But I savor life in the sense of there are so many moments to be grateful for. There's so many moments to be down about. But think about it. Every single time a moment has been down or a moment has made you question, like, am I going to get through this? It's usually the people around you, the environment that you create, the mindset that you develop that gets you through it. So I feel like loss is really just more so a gain in a different sense. It's a gain of that person meant so much to you that the effect of them leaving created a new part of you or helped you discover a new part of you. And they are part of that role. So my association for loss now, when I think of Rashawn, is like, I'm not going to be somebody else. I'm unapologetically myself. And that is solely due to Rashawn. You know what I mean? I don't go out and party and act irresponsible and act like a young kid and do things that we all know I shouldn't have been doing back in the day, specifically because of my dog. And it's because when he passed, I made a promise. I'm like, hey, like, you got me in my worst times. Like, I got you, because I know that's what your life was. Right? When my grandma passes, hopefully not soon, but there's so many things that she's done for me without ever asking for anything in return. And because of that, it's helped me develop that side of me that's like you, of like, in the Saga Man sense, if I have $1, we all have $1. But like in the sense of like, you know what I mean? But in the sense of like,
but in the sense of every other person, Mikasa is Tsukasa.
And not only that, but like there's certain moments where it's like,
real
money doesn't matter. All these things that we associate to be important doesn't matter, right? Like I'm not friends with you because you have X amount of followers. I'm not friends with you because you have X amount of money.
You won't be buried with your dollars.
Yeah, at all. It's about the influence and like the way you affect people and associate with people and what you did to shape who they are, or to, I guess, play an influence on them. So loss for me, again, it's not really a loss. I'm not super religious or spiritual. I definitely believe in a higher power. It's a gain of an angel in whatever sense you want to look at it, but it's also a gain of like self-recognition, like Dee kind of said, of having that crystal clear vision of like, if this person was here and could talk to me, you think that if they meant that much to me, and I know that they saw me being who I am and saw so much of me, you think they'd want me to be sitting on the couch crying about them 24/7? They'd be like, get your ass up and go do something. You already knew this was going to happen. You already knew things will come to an end. And as harsh as that sounds in a sense, it's where my mind has gone. And it's definitely made me realize, like, being around the people that mean the most and making those moments matter more, rather than flopping on people because I don't feel happy today or I'm tired. And like I was victim to that, or not victim. I was definitely a spokesperson for flopping, like for such a long time until my therapist told me that. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, still sometimes.
Yeah, but like until my therapist said that, and now it's one of those things where it's like, if I don't see this person, to touch on what you said, who knows when I'm gonna see them next?
Right.
God forbid. But like, yeah,
this made me think of something else I was gonna ask both of you guys actually, because you kind of touched on it a little bit, but a lot of times loss makes you think of your own mortality, right? So you're dealing with obviously somebody else's mortality, right? But as a result of it, now you're forced to reflect on a lot of things, and your own mortality is often one of them. So we talked about it gives you perspective, right? And one of the perspectives it gives you is actually the fact that everybody deals with loss.
Yeah.
So automatically, if your sense of empathy was not non-existent, but just not developed enough yet to deal with somebody who's dealt with loss, now everybody you approach, you have that lens of their life has probably been affected by loss. You have no choice but to have that now. But now when it comes to yourself, loss affecting your own vision of mortality, like how have, like both of you guys can answer this, whoever wants to first, but how have you guys kind of thought about mortality, your own? Let's just keep this to what goes on in your own heads.
I've taken my health a bit more seriously, especially because in dealing with loss and thinking about my own mortality. Obviously, there's a lot of close people in my life, and to hear my sister like look at me and say, "Hey, like the life you lived before, like you almost died twice, right? And you got lucky." I used to look at life of like, oh, well, I don't really care what I do now because this is my second life. I wasn't supposed to make it past these events. As dramatic as that sounds, that stuff was self-induced. So I can only blame myself for that. But the way I look at it now is more so, again, how can I create the best moments within my control and give the best version of myself, no matter what version of myself I feel is at the surface, to these people around me, so that if this is truly the last moment, and I don't believe that, it's just like I keep that in mind, that at least like they saw me for me, and in my own mortality, like it's like everybody's family has certain health issues or struggles, or you could make one mistake and anything could happen, God forbid, especially through driving, through going out, through doing this, through doing that. Especially in Mississauga and the GTA, where people don't know how to fucking drive.
Like the fourth time we mentioned Mississauga.
I was gonna say it's significant.
This is the most
man.
and it's because you've been talking about death.
Yeah, but it's definitely made me realize that, like as a kid, you kind of feel invincible in certain senses. I know I'm not invincible. I know that, like, in the grand scheme of things, in 150 years, nobody's gonna be like, oh, but like Adam Boutari did this or Aria Gailey did this, and if they do, that's great. But my sole purpose before I die for myself, or the sole thing that I really want to keep to heart, is I don't know when my time is up, but while I have the time here, I'm going to make the most of it and show the people around me that I truly appreciate them. Is all that's come to
Do you think loss has made you more comfortable with your own mortality or more uncomfortable?
That it's a very existential question. When I was doing psychedelics, I used to think to myself,
I like how you talk about that in past tense.
Yeah, I don't do mushrooms very often. When I was doing psychedelics, I used to think like, oh well, if I die, I die. It is what it is. Like it's just part of life.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
But not in a suicidal sense. More so in a sense of like,
it's just like isn't it
right?
Yeah, acceptance.
Acceptance of mortality is incredibly important.
Yeah.
Now there's a part of me, and I kind of like it, that's like, okay, I'm not uncomfortable with my death at all, but like there's certain things that like I want to see and do like in the world before I die. So I look at it more so as I'm not scared of it, but I'm motivated by it of like, well, if I say I'll do it tomorrow, but it's something that I know will benefit me so that I can do this next step, I'm going to do it right now.
Yeah.
So that I have a better chance of getting to exactly where I want to go. You know what I mean? So no, I'm not scared of my death, but I definitely respect it enough to know that it's not known and it's not guaranteed when it's going to come. The only guarantee behind it is it will. So you might as well be grateful for like the privileges we have in order to be able to do the things we want to do, and not say one day I'm going to do this or one day I'm going to do that and continue to procrastinate and put things off, because that's also not how I want to die. I don't want to die as somebody that was going to do all these things or had potential, because potential is only something that is not existent until you actually do something about it and show it. So that's kind of where I'm at.
What about you? Did your acceptance of loss make you more comfortable or uncomfortable with your mortality?
I think it made me more comfortable with my mortality. It's something I was like, at least more open to talking about and joking about. I will agree with Adam. It certainly created a sense of urgency, where I started to think about, okay, decades now. Okay, like what is this first decade, this 20 to 30 decade? What do I want as a result, like as a checkpoint? And then, when I'm doing 30 to 40, I do have to think about that, because my friends would know I had this 60 thing where I was like, that was kind of where that came from. Like, that's just my manifested sense of urgency.
Sorry to interrupt. Do you think of things day to day? Like, do you think?
Absolutely. That's most of my time. Okay. But it's just like, keeping things in mind. Like, like a birthday is a good time for that, where it's like, oh, fuck, like, I'm 25 now. Like, so like halfway there.
25 must be nice.
Yeah.
It must be nice. Sorry. Go down.
I just want to add, like, I think it's important to make that distinction between keeping things in mind and having expectations for what you want in the future to happen. Because if you run across something and things don't work out that way, you just kind of destroy yourself.
Especially if you put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
Yeah. You can't put all your eggs. It's like, expect, like, broad enough expectations where, like, oh, do you want to get married? Or like, is that something you were trying to do before or after? And like, do you want to have a job, or do you want to like start thinking about a home once you're 30? Like, like there's a decent amount of things in life that, you can plan towards and like, work towards and like that. And then that's the sense of urgency, at least the way it manifested in my life.
No, that's
right?
fair. I respect that. I feel like everything happens for a reason too, right?
Yeah, it does. It does for a reason. And then I was going to say, I think it made me more ambitious too, certainly, where it's like, if this happens to me, like, it really doesn't get worse than that. Like, the only thing worse than that is me dying. And it's like, well, fuck it. Like, I guess that was going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
Right? So in that, like, you only live once. YOLO, like, I guess that's just a way. But like, I just feel like, at least for me as well, it made me more ambitious, where it's like, if anything can happen to you, this too could happen to you, right? Like, what are the odds?
It's like, what's the worst thing that's gonna happen? You're gonna fail, and you're just gonna try again.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it did like, make me more ambitious in terms of just like facing my mortality and understanding, like, hey, like, I can do whatever I want, I guess.
Loss also made me realize. Sorry to interrupt. But it made me realize that most of the things that we chase in life, at least in this era as like younger men, are very, very like, they have no value in the grand scheme of things. Like buying a house when I was younger and like thinking like, oh, like, I did that thing. There was no part of me as Adam that was like, as a younger like boy into a younger man. Even when I bought the house, I was like, I've always wanted to do this.
Yeah.
It was just like, well, I'm just going to throw my money here because, like, great, it's an accomplishment, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's got to buy a house.
Right?
Yeah.
But then when I really start to think about it, it's like, it's not really what I want. Like, loss has made me realize if I was to die in a week, if I had only a week to do X, Y, Z, I'm not going to spend a week buying my house and boasting about, oh my God, I got a house before I died. That's great.
Yeah.
I'm going to want to go and travel, meet people, speak languages, try to connect with people, try to like do the things that I as myself want to do, not me as the man in society should be doing or is expected to do or is seen as a different class of prestige or a different level than others just because that's how other people associate it. So yeah, no, I feel like people are too worried about how others will perceive themselves, regardless of if they're confident in themselves or not. There's always that like voice in the back of your head that's kind of holding you back from doing exactly what you want to do. And loss, like death, not loss, but death has made me realize that the only thing that matters to me is continuing to learn the things that I want to do in life and fail at them until I get to the point where I want to be, not where anybody else wants to be.
We are at time, and I think this was a great conversation.
Yeah.
I think we all learned a lot about how each of us have dealt with loss. We hope that you guys watching have as well. I know we all deal with loss, and we all deal with it in different ways. So if you're watching this as somebody who's going through loss, we're your friends. We're here for you. We hope that this kind of gave you something to chew on and
be your own best friend.
Be your own best friend. You know what I mean? But we hope that this gave you something to reflect with and not feel alone with. And both of you, thank you so much for sharing your experiences on
Thank you for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming. This was a lot of fun. So
And for sharing your music with us as well.
that was incredible.
Always.
Yeah.
No, honestly, they're the ones that are the reason why I played music. He bought me that guitar, and they all put in money for the other guitar. So, like, thank you guys. You know what I mean? Like, it means a lot. It means a lot.
Well,
like, every time I pick up those guitars, I think of you guys.
We love having you, and we love thinking about you too. And yeah. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, it's been real, and one
The
love.
3 wise guys and the 1 dumbass.
3 wise guys and the 1 dumbass.
And Davin.
All right, one love, everybody.
One love.